Okay, so in lab assignment 2, which deals with acoustics, there are three options, and this video deals with the second option, which is titled Filter Your Own Source. So if you remember in the acoustic section, we learned about source filter theory, and we learned how that applies to speech sounds, particularly vowels. Now, there's a lot of stuff we can do with this knowledge, and this assignment is designed to really help us drill down into that. So if you go to the lab assignment section on eClass here, scroll down and open the lab assignment section, go to lab assignment 2, and the second option is filter your own source. And it has a big long discussion. I'm gonna talk through a bunch of that in this video, and yeah, I am not going to read it or reproduce it entirely in this video, so you will need to look at the document on eClass to make sure you've got all the details. But here goes. So like I said, the idea is to really dig into this filter and source conceptual distinction in speech. Um, and as the page says, you're going to be doing a deep acoustic analysis of a vowel. So you want to record a neutral vowel. Uh, this is a vowel that has as neutral as possible a tongue position as you can. You know from the course what kind of vowel that should be. You record that. There's a video, a couple of videos linked on the page in eClass to help you set up with using Prot and doing measurements. Uh, I like recording straight into Prot because it saves a step, but you can record using microphone of various sorts, just whatever you have handy. Uh, and you're going to estimate the length of your vocal tract and identify and measure key properties of the source and key properties of the filter in that recording uh, for your report. And then you're going to, of course, write up, discuss those measurements, and submit the report. So just to remember, you want as acoustically clean an environment as possible. So not a lot of background noises in my particular environment right now. It's a pretty quiet moment in my house, so this would be a good time to record. I do hear the furnace going in the background. That's not too oppressive. If if young people start jumping around and banging things, if someone starts cooking in the kitchen, or the dog starts barking, then I might want to wait for a quieter moment or find a quieter space to do that recording, because all of those things can interfere with the actual acoustic measurements that you want to do. Um, right. What else do we want to say about this? The waveform and the spectrum are probably the main things you want to use in this recording. I know the spectrogram gets a lot of play in the videos and discussions of speech sounds, but here we're just looking at vowels, and a spectrum is a really good way to kind of clear away a lot of the distracting details that sometimes show up in a spectrogram and focus on what you're after here. Uh, so you should be able to measure or calculate based on things you can directly measure, things like the fundamental frequency, resonance frequencies and amplitudes of those resonances, and the vocal tract length. Of course, vocal tract length is going to be an estimate based on other things that you can directly see. But I think in the materials that you have enough information to figure out how to do that. Um, Once you've done your measurements, I want you to write them up. Remember, with any write up, it should be organized logically and clearly. I really like headings for each distinct section in your discussion. Talk about what you were able to measure, how you measured it, what the actual measured value was. You can use tables to report these measurements. That's a good way to summarize results in an easy, visually uh, natural way, as well as including them in the text of your discussion. What were you not able to measure? Why couldn't you measure it? Um, you could do a bit of research to identify how you might be able to make that measurement if you had other equipment available. Do not go hunting down that equipment and doing those measurements. This is not a heroic measures assignment. It's the most of your work should be on reasoning and measuring, not on hunting down esoteric pieces of equipment. Um, and I know some of you are shaking your head. Well, who would ever do that? There are people who would do that. Okay. Uh, and it's adorable, but I'm it's important to me that you manage your time well, and don't go overboard with this assignment. Uh, Once you've done the write up and you have clearly described everything that's asked for in the assignment text, then you submit. You submit a PDF file with your report and a sound file with your recording. Right? I may want to double check your measurements myself, and so submit both of those things, and make sure you identify which assignment. All the assignments in the acoustic section, you're submitting some acoustics, so an acoustic sample, some sound, and a PDF. And then just so you know that with all the assignments and all the options, um, there is a grading rubric. They have the same general shape. 60% of the mark is down to correctness and completeness, 20% for clarity and 20% for insight. And in this case, completeness means submitting both the elements, the sound recording and the report. The sound recording has to include enough of the sound to make the relevant measurements. The report must include all the elements that are specified in the assignment text on eClass. Correctness involves accurate measurements of the things that you're measuring, uh, specific and appropriate explanations for what you couldn't measure, and where you're deriving information from other sources, you should accurately reflect those other sources. Um, so that's all laid out in the assignment text. Clarity, you do what you can to make a clear recording. So the audio recording should be as clear as possible. Mainly the clarity mark is down to the written report though. Uh, it should be organized logically, be uh, clear and easy to follow, use appropriate levels of precision when reporting measurements, that sort of thing. And the insight mark, that's always it feels a little bit fuzzy until it gets pinned down with some more specifics. The word insight is very vague. In this case, you should use the insight to identify appropriate measures for the various things that you're looking for, and present plausible ideas for how you would be able to more fully characterize the sounds if you had whatever extra equipment you identify for measuring the things that you aren't able to measure. Okay. And as always, for anything in this course, and especially while you're working on these big assignments, if you have any questions, if you get stuck, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me, you can post on the discussion forum, you can come to office hours, the drop-in times in my office on campus or in the Zoom link, and I'm happy to clarify and help get you unstuck from whatever you're stuck on. Okay, obviously the sooner the better for these assignments. All right, so that is filtering your own source.